Chapter 1. The Ominous Prelude. In the quiet embrace of late March, Dr. Elena Marquez, a dedicated marine geologist with the USGS, sat in the dimly lit monitoring room of Oregon's Newport Research Station. Her gaze was locked onto the oscillating graphs of the large, screen display, tracking deep-sea pressure readings from a national tsunami warning system sensors. At 14:27 Universal Time Coordinated, a sudden, unprecedented spike jolted the sensors off the Oregon coast. Pressure soaring from 1,020 dbar to 1,350 dbar in under 2 minutes, a fluctuation that defied any tidal pattern in recorded history. This is off the charts," she murmured, her voice taut as she referenced the data with NOAA satellite imagery. The smooth line of water pressure now resembled a jagged mountain range, a stark contrast to the serene patterns of the past. Historical records offered no parallels, sending a cold tendril of unease down her spine. Yet, as a scientist, she pushed on, determined to find a logical explanation. 2,000 miles east, in the sterile control room of the LIGO Hanford Observatory, Dr. Jack Harper stared at the gravitational wave detector's readout with mounting dread. The once steady green lines had devolved into a chaotic mess of jagged peaks and valleys, oscillating in a pattern that matched no known celestial body. "Run diagnostics again now," he barked at a junior technician, his hands trembling slightly. Multiple checks on wires, algorithms, and interferometers revealed no glitches. His heart sank as he hit the intercom. "Livingston, do you copy? Are you seeing these perturbations too?" The confirmation, swift and terrified, sent a chill through the room. Something massive, something unknown, was rippling through space-time. Jack immediately fed the data into the LIGO Virgo model, his fingers flying over the keyboard. The initial calculations hinted at a mass 1.3 times Earth's, moving at a staggering 120,000 kilometers per hour, impossible for any cataloged asteroid or comet. As night fell, the sky itself began to whisper doom. Over Alaska and northern Canada, a harsh static, like shimmer, clung to the horizon, not the ethereal dance of the aurora, but a sickly gray-green haze. Social media erupted with chaos. Cows refusing to enter barns, flocks of birds careening into buildings, dogs howling at the invisible threat. The U.S. Naval Observatory, after hours of analysis, issued a terse statement. An object of unknown origin approaches the solar system. Trajectory suggests close Earth encounter. Amateur astronomers across the north reported a dim, twinkling, growing brighter with each passing hour. Elena stood on the wind-swept cliffs of Cape Meares, her windbreaker flapping violently. The sea below was a cauldron of foam, waves crashing with unnatural force. Her phone buzzed. Magnitude 5.2 quake off Japan, for 0.8 in Chile, tectonically unrelated. Tidal forces, she breathed, realizing a colossal gravity source might be stretching Earth's crust. Back at the station, she checked with seismographic data, unprecedented crustal strain in both regions. At JPL, Jack faced a nightmare. Omicron Prime, the IAU's tentative name for the object, was a rogue planet, ejected eons ago, now hurtling inward. Jupiter's gravitational slingshot had redirected it straight toward Earth. "It's not a flyby," he told a live CNN feed, pulling up trajectory simulations. Jupiter turned it into a cosmic bullet. Impact in 48 hours. The reporter's face paled as the model showed Omicron Prime's path, inevitable, unstoppable. The first major quake struck at 22:17 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Elena felt the ground tremble, then convulse. The sea began to recede, exposing Barnacle. Cake Rock normally hidden beneath 30 meters of water. Textbook tsunami precursor. Her phone blared. Pacific Tsunami Warning Center. Devastating tsunami imminent. Evacuate coastal areas. She raced her car, eyes fixed on the horizon. Jack watched seismometers. 7.8 in Northern California. 8.1 in Alaska. The West Coast crust stretched like putty under Omicron Prime's pull. Live feed showed the Golden Gate Bridge swaying. Buildings cracking, streets buckling. "This is just the beginning," he muttered, as sirens wailed to the control room. By midnight, Japan faced 30-meter tsunami waves. Satellite footage showed water walls sweeping away towns. Fukushima Daiichi leaking radiation anew. In Oregon, Elena guided a family to higher ground as a 15-meter wave hit Newport, obliterating everything in its path. MIT survival model, 70% at 2000 hours, now 45%. Omicron Prime loomed larger, a red grayed in the sky. The ocean raged, earth shook, sky darkened. Elena and Jack, miles apart, wondered, how much more could Earth and humanity endure? Chapter 2. The Unleashing of Chaos. As Omicron Prime hurtled closer at a relentless 120,000 kilometers per hour, its gravitational pull intensified like a tightening noose. Dr. Elena Marquez, stationed at a makeshift evacuation center in Portland, Oregon, watched in horror as aftershocks, each registering over magnitude 5, rippled to the west coast with the regularity of a grim metronome. The USGS app on her weathered smartphone buzzed incessantly. Seismic activity persists. Avoid coastal and fault line areas. She grabbed a volunteer by the arm, her voice hoarse from hours of shouting. "We need to get these people at least 50 miles further inland. Now. These buildings won't withstand another major quake." But the scene was chaos. Roads were clogged with abandoned vehicles. Their owners fled into the unknown, and the air was thick with the acrid stench of dust and fear. At the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL, in Pasadena, Dr. Jack Harper pored over updated orbital data with a team of haggard scientists. Omicron Prime's mass, now confirmed at 1.35 times Earth's, was creating a gravitational well so intense it distorted Earth's magnetic field like a crumpled piece of paper. "Look at this," he shouted, jabbing a finger at a graph on the central monitor. "The magnetosphere is collapsing faster than our worst. Case simulations. Satellites are going to start dropping like flies within hours." Indeed, satellite feeds flickered erratically, and communication systems strained under the electromagnetic interference, turning once clear signals into static, filled gibberish. The aftermath of the Pacific tsunami was a catastrophe of biblical proportions. Japan's northeastern coast, once a vibrant landscape, was now a wasteland of debris and radiation. Plumes from the Fukushima Daiichi plant, carried by ocean currents mapped by NOAA, were projected to reach the west coast in 72 hours. "Fisheries from Alaska to California are as good as dead," Elena muttered, scrolling through weather-beaten laptop screens filled with contamination models. But even as she spoke, a new threat loomed. The rogue planet's gravitational tug was disrupting jet streams, giving birth to Hypercell's colossal, unpredictable storm systems with wind speeds exceeding 300 kilometers per hour. Jack's team detected another alarming anomaly. Omicron Prime's thin but toxic atmosphere, composed of methane, ammonia, and other noxious gases, was interacting with Earth's upper atmosphere. "It's like mixing poison in a cosmic blender," a young scientist beside him said, her voice trembling. Spectrometers showed increasing concentrations of these gases in the upper stratosphere, a ticking time bomb that could suffocate large regions if they descended. MIT survival probability model, updated in real time, now hovered at 40%. The algorithm factored in the cascading disasters, earthquakes, tsunamis, radiation poisoning, and now atmospheric contamination. But nature was not done unleashing its wrath. In Texas, a hyper-cell materialized, its core a maelstrom of 300 km/h winds. The National Weather Service, NWS, issued urgent alerts. Destructive winds. Seek shelter immediately. Social media was flooded with terrifying videos. Tornado, like funnels that didn't move, hovering ominously over towns. Gravity vortices, Jack hypothesized, his eyes fixed on radar images. Omicron's pull is twisting air currents into these stationary monsters. Back in Oregon, Elena's evacuation convoy faced a new horror. Without warning, a 20-meter, wide ground fissure opened near their vehicles, swallowing a pickup truck whole. Reverse. Now, she screamed over the roar of shifting earth. Dust and sulfur fumes rose in thick plumes, ominous signs of magma churning beneath the surface. And then, her worst fear was realized when a notification from Yellowstone National Park's monitoring system flashed on her phone. Thermal activity in the caldera had spiked dramatically. If Yellowstone erupts, she whispered, knowing a VI, 8 eruption would plunge the world into a volcanic winter. Jack's worst nightmare came true moments later. Yellowstone's magma chambers expanding at an exponential rate. A geologist shouted. The caldera, dormant for 630,000 years, now teetered on the brink of eruption. A VI, 8 event would eject enough ash and sulfur into the atmosphere to block sunlight, collapse global agriculture, and cause a climate collapse unmatched in human history. Survival probability, 35% and plummeting. Chapter 3. The Volcanic Onslaught. The ground beneath Yellowstone National Park trembled violently, as if the earth itself were a beast awakening from a millennia-long slumber. Dr. Elena Marquez, still coordinating evacuations in Oregon, received continuous updates from the park's monitoring system. Magma chamber pressure just hit 800 psi. A park ranger shouted over the satellite link. If it breaches 1,000, we're looking at an eruption within hours. The VI, 8 threat loomed larger than ever. Such an eruption would eject 1,000 cubic kilometers of ash, enough to blanket North America, in a layer of debris meters thick. At JPL, Dr. Jack Harper watched as climate models updated in real time. Even a minor eruption would drop global temperatures by 5 degrees Celsius within a year. A climatologist said, her face pale. Agriculture would collapse. No sunlight, no crops. Famine on a scale we've never seen. Jack knew she was right. The 1815 Tambora eruption had caused a year without summer. Yellowstone would be 1,000 times worse. Elena's team faced dwindling supplies. We've got 3 days of food left, a volunteer reported. And fuel. Most cars can't go more than 100 miles. She nodded, her mind racing. Then, a new alert. Omicron Prime's gravitational pull was causing unusual weather patterns globally. In Africa, monsoons had failed. In Europe, unprecedented blizzards raged. The World Meteorological Organization, WMO, called it climate chaos on steroids. Jack's focus shifted to electromagnetic interference. Satellites are down to 30% functionality, a technician said. GPS communication, everything's failing. Without satellites, global coordination would collapse. The International Space Station, ISS, reported strange readings too. Omicron's magnetic field interacting with Earth's, creating auroras at equatorial latitudes, beautiful but deadly. Survival probability, 30%. MIT's model now included volcanic winter scenarios. Yellowstone's caldera showed no mercy. At 3:47 Universal Time Coordinated, the first tremors of a magnitude 7.5 earthquake shook Wyoming. This is it, Elena whispered. The park's webcam feed showed the ground fracturing, steam vents erupting. Then a massive plume of ash shot into the sky. Yellowstone had erupted. The ash cloud rose 50 kilometers, carried by jet streams. Within hours, it reached the Midwest. Visibility zero in Omaha, A reporter's shaky live feed showed a city blanketed in gray. People are wearing gas masks, but it's not enough. Ash is clogging lungs. Jack watched as the ash spread on satellite imagery. It's moving faster than predicted, he said. The ash would circle the globe in 2 weeks, blocking sunlight. Photosynthesis would halt. Oxygen levels would slowly drop. Elena's evacuation convoy was now a ghost town. We need to head south, away from the ash, she told her team. But roads were blocked by abandoned vehicles and debris. On foot, then, she decided, they packed what little food they had, leaving the rest for others, an act of charity in a world collapsing. In Asia, the Fukushima radiation plumes combined with Yellowstone's ash. Acid rain reported in Tokyo, a Japanese official said. Buildings eroding, water supplies contaminated. The dual disasters, radiation and volcanic ash, created a toxic cocktail. In Europe, the blizzards worsened. London was buried under meters of snow, its once bustling streets silent, heating systems failing. A European Union official reported, people burning furniture to stay warm. But with the ash, even that's dangerous. Indoor air quality is lethal. In South America, the Amazon rainforest, normally a lush haven, now face a different threat. The ash cloud, carried by global wind patterns, began to settle, blocking sunlight and threatening the delicate ecosystem. Photosynthesis in the Amazon is down 60%, a Brazilian scientist said. This isn't just a local problem. This is a blow to the planet's lungs. Jack's team at JPL tried to send emergency signals to remaining satellites. If we can get even one satellite back online, we could coordinate better, he said. But each attempt was met with static. The electromagnetic interference was too severe. Meanwhile, Elena's group encountered a group of survivors, doctors and nurses, who had set up a makeshift clinic. We got some medical supplies, one nurse said. But without clean water, infections are spreading. Elena shared her team's water purification tablets. Another act of cooperation in a crumbling world. Survival probability, 25%. Chapter 4. The Darkening Sky. The ash from Yellowstone blanketed the northern hemisphere, turning day into night. Dr. Elena Marquez, trekking southward with her group, watched as the sun struggled to pierce the thick layer. It's like living in a perpetual eclipse, a young survivor said. Temperatures plummeted. Portland saw 10 degrees Celsius by noon, a stark contrast of March's usual mildness. The U.S. National Weather Service, NWS, warned of volcanic winter conditions. Expect sub-zero temps across the nation. At JPL, Dr. Jack Harper faced a new crisis. Solar panels on satellites are coated in ash, a technician reported. Even if we rebooted them, they generate no power. Without satellites, NOAA couldn't update weather models, and the Global Positioning System, GPS, was virtually dead. Air travel's grounded everywhere, an FAA official said. No visibility, no navigation. The skies are closed. Elena's group found an abandoned farm. Maybe there's a cellar, she said. Inside, they discovered canned goods, years' worth. This could save us, a volunteer said. But water was scarce. We'll have to melt snow, Elena decided, eyeing the gray-tinted snowfall. But radiation and ash made it risky. Filter it twice, she instructed. Jack's team detected Omicron Prime's atmosphere merging further with Earth's. Methane levels are up 400% in the upper troposphere. A scientist said, it's a ticking time bomb for methane clathrate release. If frozen methane under the ocean thawed, it would accelerate global warming. Ironic in the midst of volcanic cooling. We're between a rock and a hard place, Jack muttered. Survival probability, 20%. MIT's model factored in food shortages, radiation, and now methane risks. In Europe, The blizzards turned deadly. Paris, once a city of light, was a frozen ghost. No heat, no electricity. A French survivor tweeted, the last message before comms failed. People huddled in catacombs, but as seeps in, were breathing poison. In Australia, wildfires, usually a summer threat, now raged in freezing temperatures due to dry, ash-laden air. It's like the laws of nature are in revolt, a firefighter said. Elena's group encountered a scientific outpost. We're monitoring ash composition, a researcher said. Silica content's off the charts. If it gets into water systems, it'll clog pipes, ruin engines. They shared data. Knowledge was now currency. Jack, meanwhile, tried to contact international observatories. Beijing? Hello? Anybody. Silence. China's regions were likely buried in ash or radiation. As they moved south, Elena's group stumbled upon a small town where survivors had set up a barricade. Who goes there? A wary guard asked. Elena explained their situation. We've got some medical supplies, she offered. The survivors, initially hostile, relented. We got kids sick from the ash, their leader said. Elena's team helped treat the sick, using the last of their antibiotics. In return, the town shared a well, hidden water source, clean, underground water. It's our lifeline, the leader said. Back at JPL, Jack's team attempted a desperate measure. Let's try to use the Deep Space Network, he suggested. Designed to communicate with interplanetary probes, it might bypass damaged satellites. After hours of tinkering, they established a weak link with a NOAA buoy in the Pacific. Ash concentrations off the charts, the buoy's data showed. Waves are massive. Omicron's pull is increasing. Tsunami warnings, once silenced, now flickered back to life. Omicron's gravity was creating 50-meter waves in the open ocean. In Africa, the failure of monsoons led to a catastrophic water shortage. The Nile, usually a lifeline, dwindled to a trickle. No rain, no crops, no water, a Kenyan official said. We're facing mass starvation, millions at risk. The ash had created a global hydrological disaster, disrupting the water cycle. Jack also noticed Omicron's visual appearance. Through a makeshift telescope, most professional ones were damaged, he saw it. Now a quarter the size of the moon in Earth's sky, its surface a scarred, rocky landscape. It's so close, he murmured. The impact, once a distant threat, now loomed in mere days. Survival probability, 15%. MIT's model updated hourly, each tick dropping the number further. Chapter 5. The gravitational grip tightens. Omicron Prime loomed larger in the sky, now a third the size of the moon, its jagged, icy surface visible to the naked eye. Dr. Elena Marquez traveled with her group in a borrowed truck, the only vehicle with fuel, glanced up. It's like a nightmare that won't end, she said. The gravitational pull intensified, causing new fault lines to open. In the Rocky Mountains, a magnitude 8.2 earthquake struck, triggering avalanches that buried entire villages. At JPL, Dr. Jack Harper observed Earth rotation data. Omicron's pull is slowing Earth's rotation, a geophysicist said. Days are getting longer, by seconds, but it's measurable. This shift disrupted tides further. The ocean surged unpredictably. NOAA's restored buoy data showed 70-meter tsunamis forming, heading for the East Coast. Evacuate the Atlantic seaboard. Jack shouted, but communication was patchy. Elena's group reached Colorado. The once beautiful state was a wasteland of ash and ice. They encountered a military convoy, one of the few organized forces left. We're heading underground bunkers, a colonel said. Come with us. They're reinforced, stocked. Elena hesitated. Trusting others was risky, but with supplies almost gone, she agreed. Upon arriving at the bunkers, vast underground complexes built during the Cold War. Elena was struck by a mix of relief and unease. "We got 6 months' supplies," a technician said. But if Omicron hits, no one finished the sentence. Inside, the air was stale but breathable, lit by dim emergency lights. They found a makeshift hospital, labs, even a hydroponic farm. "It's a miracle," Elena said. She immediately volunteered at the hospital, tending to survivors with severe ash-induced respiratory issues. "We need to conserve oxygen tanks," she told a nurse. "Prioritize critical cases." Jack stayed at JPL, refusing to abandon his post. "I'll monitor until the end," he told a colleague. As Omicron neared, its gravity distorted JPL's instruments. "Everything's off kilter," a scientist said, but they kept working, recording data, hoping someone somewhere would learn from this. Jack attempted to contact the International Antarctic Center. "Antarctic ice shelves are collapsing at an unprecedented rate," a researcher finally replied. "Omicron's pull and volcanic warming. They're disintegrating." This collapse threatened massive sea level rises, though with Omicron's impact imminent, it seemed a secondary disaster. In New York, the first tsunami waves hit. "Wave incoming, 70 meters," a Coast Guard alert blared. Lower Manhattan flooded in minutes. Skyscrapers half submerged. "This is worse than 2012, a survivor cried. But there was no time to mourn. Another wave followed. The Hudson River had become a raging torrent, carrying debris and remnants of the city. Jack's team noticed another horror. Omicron's core, a dense mass, was causing subtle changes in Earth's orbit. "We're not just being pulled, we're being dragged," a mathematician said. This could alter Earth's path around the sun, though with impact days away. It was a secondary concern. Survival probability, 10%. MIT's model now factored in Earth's rotational changes and orbital shifts. In Asia, the dual threat of radiation and ash continued. South Korea's government, in a rare broadcast, warned of total environmental collapse. Australia, already battling fires and ash, now faced massive dust storms, ash and red dirt combining into apocalyptic walls. The Great Barrier Reef, once a vibrant ecosystem, was now a bleached graveyard, killed by radiation, ash, and temperature fluctuations. Back in the bunkers, tension rose as supplies were rationed. "You're giving them too much," a survivor shouted at a volunteer. Elena intervened. "We all survived together or not at all," she said firmly. Her scientific background earned respect, and order was restored. For now. Jack's final attempt to contact other observatories failed. Beijing? Berlin? Anybody. Silence. Earth's technological network had crumbled. He looked at the sky through JPL's window. Omicron now a quarter the size of the sun, its surface details chillingly clear. Survival probability, 5%. Chapter 6. The Final Hours. The countdown to Omicron Prime's impact began in earnest. Dr. Elena Marquez, in the underground bunker, oversaw the distribution of remaining supplies. "Each person gets 1 ration a day," she instructed firmly. The hydroponic farm, once a beacon of hope, struggled under artificial light. Ash in the atmosphere blocked too much solar radiation. "Crops are failing," a technician reported, frustration etched on their face. "We got 2 weeks of food, max, if we stretch it." Elena organized a team to scavenge for alternative food sources. "Check every nook and cranny," she said. "We can't afford to miss anything." As they searched, tensions flared. "Why should they get more?" A survivor snapped, pointing at a group of elderly people. Elena stepped in, her voice calm but authoritative. "We all survive together, or not at all. Prioritizing the vulnerable is our only moral choice, and our best chance for humanity to hold on even in these final hours." Her words seemed to soothe the frayed nerves, at least temporarily. At JPL, Dr. Jack Harper watched as seismometers went wild. Another major quake, this time in the mid-Atlantic ridge. A scientist shouted. The ridge, a tectonic boundary, erupted with underwater volcanoes, spewing more ash and sulfur into the already poisoned atmosphere. It's a chain reaction, Jack muttered, helplessness creeping into his voice. NOAA's buoys, few that still function, recorded massive undersea landslides, generating more tsunamis, though global communication was too fragmented to warn coastal regions effectively. Jack's team faced constant equipment failures. The backup generator's failing, a technician said. We've only got hours of power left. Despite this, they worked feverishly. We have to document everything, Jack insisted. Even if we're gone, this data could help someone, some civilization, avoid this fate in the future. Elena's bunker faced a new threat. Radon gas seeping through cracks in the aged concrete. Seal the vents now, she ordered. But with limited materials and time, it was a losing battle. We'll have to wear masks, a medic said, distributing the last of protective gear. The air quality inside degraded rapidly, adding respiratory illnesses to the growing list of medical woes. Jack's team detected Omicron's magnetic field interacting with Earth's core. It's disrupting molten iron flow, a geophysicist said, pointing at erratic magnetic field readings. This disruption could alter Earth's magnetic field permanently. If there was a permanently after impact, survival probability 3%. MIT's model, now powered by emergency generators, showed a near zero chance of global civilization survival. The algorithm factored in every disaster: volcanic winter, radiation, gravitational-induced quakes, and now the impending impact. In the Arctic, the gravitational pull caused massive icebergs to calve. The Jakobsham Glacier is gone. A satellite image, one of the last, showed a gaping void where the glacier once stood. Sea levels rose steadily. Though with Omicron's impact hours away, it seemed a trivial detail. In Europe, what was left of civilization huddled in basements. We're out of fuel, out of hope, a German survivor messaged on a dying satellite link. But we're together at least. In Africa, the famine had reached catastrophic levels. No food, no water, no future. A Nigerian aid worker said, her voice weak, but we're still fighting, still holding on. Elena tried to contact Jack via a military-grade radio. Jack, can you hear me? Static, then faintly. Elena, impact in 12 hours. She looked at the clock. 2 o'clock. By 1400 hours, Omicron would strike. Jack's last task: upload all data to JPL's emergency servers. Even if we're gone, maybe someone somewhere finds this, he said. The servers, buried deep underground and shielded by concrete and lead, might survive the impact's initial shock. He hit upload, praying the connection held. As he did, he noticed the sky through JPL's window. Omicron now a third the size of the sun, its surface details chillingly clear. The gravitational pull was so strong that light seemed to bend around it, creating a surreal, otherworldly glow. In the bunker, Elena gathered everyone. We don't know what's coming, but we're here together. That means something. Some cried, some prayed, some simply stared at the ceiling, waiting. The hydroponic farm's lights flickered, another generator failing. Chapter 7. Impact. The moment Omicron Prime collided with Earth, time seemed to stand still, then erupted in a blaze of destruction. At 1402 Universal Time Coordinated, the rogue planet struck the Pacific Ocean, releasing energy equivalent to 1032 joules, equivalent to billions of hydrogen bombs. The impact zone vaporized instantly, creating a crater hundreds of kilometers wide. Tsunamis, hundreds of meters high, radiated outward, their destructive power unimaginable. Dr. Elena Marquez was in the underground bunker when the shock wave hit. The concrete walls groaned, then cracked. "Take cover," she screamed. Dust and debris rained down. The hydroponic farm collapsed, lights flickered and died. "Generators out," a technician shouted. In the darkness, panic threatened to erupt. "Stay calm," Elena yelled, fumbling for a flashlight. The bunker's emergency lights, dim and flickering, revealed a scene of chaos. Shells overturned, survivors injured by falling debris. Elena quickly assessed the injuries. "We need to stop the bleeding," she ordered, rushing to a young child pinned under a collapsed shelf. With the help of a few survivors, they lifted the shelf. The child's leg was severely broken. "Set the fracture as best we can," she said, knowing full well the lack of proper medical supplies. "Use splints, anything sturdy." Meanwhile, the bunker's structural integrity continued to degrade. Cracks in the walls widened, allowing more radon gas and contaminated water to seep in. "We can't stay here much longer," a survivor cried. "The bunker's falling apart." At JPL, Dr. Jack Harper witnessed the impact through a reinforced window. The flash was blinding, brighter than 1,000 suns. Then, a shock wave of air and debris hit. The building shook violently. Equipment flew across the room. Jack was thrown against the wall, darkness threatening to claim him. "Data, did it upload?" he muttered, blood trickling from a head wound. But there was no time to check. The aftershocks, magnitude 10+, began, shaking the ground like a rag doll. Jack managed to crawl to the server room. The lead line room had withstood the initial shock, but the servers were damaged. Come on," he pleaded, trying to reboot the system. Sparks flew from exposed wires, but miraculously, one server powered on. "Yes," he exclaimed, checking the upload status. Part of the data had been saved, vital information about Omicron's trajectory and Earth's responses. "It's not much, but it's something," he said, hoping it would survive whatever came next. The impact triggered a global cataclysm. Volcanoes, from Yellowstone to the Ring of Fire, erupted simultaneously. The ash and debris from the impact, combined with volcanic output, formed a thick, impenetrable layer around Earth. Sunlight, blocked entirely, left the planet in perpetual darkness. Surface temperatures plummeted to -50 ring operator C within hours. In Europe, what was left of major cities like London and Paris was submerged under massive tsunamis. The North Sea and Atlantic coasts were completely devastated. In Africa, the ash from global volcanoes settled in thick layers, suffocating what little life remained. The Nile River, already dwindling, was now contaminated with ash and radiation. Elena's bunker faced a new horror, groundwater infiltration. "The walls are leaking," a survivor cried. Water, mixed with ash and radiation, seeped in, contaminating what little clean water they had. "Seal it with anything," Elena ordered, but it was futile. The bunker, once a sanctuary, was now a tomb. Jack, regaining consciousness, tried to assess JPL's damage. Most servers were destroyed, but one, shielded in a lead-lined room, might have survived. "Please, hold on," he begged, crawling toward it. Outside, the sky was a mix of dark gray and orange. Fires raged everywhere, fed by ruptured gas lines and oil reserves. Survival probability, now incalculable. MIT servers, likely destroyed, no longer provided updates. The few remaining satellites showed a planet in ruins. No visible land masses, only a sea of fire, ash, and water. In the bunker, a young survivor asked, "Is this the end?" Elena, exhausted but resolute, replied, "We don't know, but we're alive for now. That means we fight." They huddled together, sharing the last of their rations, listening to the earth's groans above. Chapter 8. The Post-Impact Wasteland. Days after the impact, Earth was a planet in mourning. The thick layer of ash and debris blocked all sunlight, turning the world into a frozen, dark wasteland. Surface temperatures hovered around -60 ring operator C, and the few remaining survivors huddled in whatever shelter they could find. Dr. Elena Marquez's underground bunker was now a cold, damp tomb. The last generator had failed, and only the faintest emergency lights flickered. "We're out of food," a survivor said, their voice weak. Elena, her face gone from lack of sleep and food, tried to stay positive. "We'll find a way. Maybe there's more supplies deeper in the bunker." But they'd already scavenged every inch. Radon gas levels had risen dangerously, and many survivors were now sick, coughing, their skin irritated by the contaminated environment. Determined to find a solution, Elena organized a team to explore deeper into the bunker. "There might be a lower level we haven't checked," she said. After hours of searching, they discovered an old, sealed storage room. Inside, they found crates of emergency rations, expired, but still edible. "It's a lifeline," a survivor cried, but with no way to purify water effectively. Even this discovery was bittersweet. Meanwhile, a young survivor's wound had become infected. "We need to clean this or it'll spread," Elena said, using a torn piece of cloth and contaminated water, all they had, to try and disinfect it. At JPL, Dr. Jack Harper had managed to save some data on a portable drive. "This could be humanity's legacy," he said to himself. But JPL was no longer safe. Aftershocks continued, and the building structure was compromised. He decided to head for the bunkers, if any still stood. Outside, the air was thick with ash, making visibility almost zero. He wore a makeshift gas mask, but every breath was a struggle. The once familiar streets of Pasadena were gone, replaced by piles of debris and rivers of lava from nearby volcanic activity. Jack's journey was perilous. A powerful aftershock hit, causing a nearby building to collapse. "Run!" he shouted, diving for cover. Dust and rubble rained down. When the dust settled, he continued, his resolve unbroken. He encountered groups of desperate survivors, some hostile, fighting over scraps. "We're all in this together," he shouted, but they ignored him. He narrowly escaped a confrontation, hiding in a partially collapsed building. Inside, he found a radio still working. "Is anyone out there?" he broadcasted. Static, then faintly, "Jack, is that you?" It was Elena. "Elena, where are you?" he replied. "In the bunker, dying. But we're trying to survive." Their conversation was cut short by interference. The impact had also caused Earth's axial tilt to shift dramatically. Seasons, already chaotic, now meant nothing. The lack of sunlight killed any remaining photosynthetic life. Trees, crops, even algae in the ocean. The food chain was completely broken. In the oceans, the initial impact had caused massive marine life extinction. Now, the few surviving species faced freezing temperatures and lack of oxygen. The surface of the ocean began to freeze, forming a thick layer of ice that expanded daily, sealing away what little life remained beneath. In what was left of Russia, survivors burned whatever they could for warmth, but the ash-filled air made even that dangerous. In Australia, the combination of wildfires, ash, and freezing temperatures had created a landscape of desolation. The Great Barrier Reef, already dead, was now covered in a thick layer of ash and ice. Back in the bunker, Elena faced a new crisis. A survivor, driven mad by fear and hunger, attacked another. "Stop this," Elena shouted, intervening. "We must stay united." The incident left everyone on edge, but they knew unity was their only chance, however slim. "Jack, Still en route, noticed strange lights in the sky, disrupted by Omicron's magnetic influence. Earth's magnetosphere produced eerie, shifting auroras even at low latitudes. Beautiful, but deadly, he muttered, knowing it was a sign of further atmospheric collapse. Chapter 9. Fading Hope. Weeks passed, and Earth's situation grew more dire. In Elena's bunker, the expired rations had run out. The infected survivor's condition worsened, gangrene setting in. "We can't save him," a medic said. Elena, tearful, nodded. "We'll make him as comfortable as possible." The bunker's air was thick with despair. Radon gas, combined with mold from the damp, claimed more lives. "We're dying one by one," a survivor whispered. The bunker's water supply had dwindled to a few liters, contaminated and foul-smelling. "We need to find water or we'll die of thirst," a young man said. Elena organized a small team to explore the bunker's lower levels once more. They found a stagnant, ash-filled puddle. "It's better than nothing," one said, filtering it through rags. But even this meager source was soon exhausted. Tensions rose as arguments over the last drops erupted. "We're all in this together," Elena shouted, but desperation had eroded trust. A survivor, driven by desperation, volunteered to venture outside for water. "I'll find something," he insisted. Hours passed, and he didn't return. "He's gone," a survivor murmured. Another life lost to this hell. Jack's journey to the bunker was plagued by aftershocks. A massive tremor, magnitude 9, sent a wave of lava toward him. He barely escaped, climbing a pile of rubble. His portable drive, humanity's last day to hope, was still intact. "I won't let this die," he vowed. The sky above was a swirling mass of dark clouds, ash and strange, colored streaks from atmospheric disturbances. As he trekked, he encountered a group of scientists, what was left of a university team. "We've been trying to track Omicron's remnants," one said. "But there's nothing, just a dead sky." They shared their meager supplies with Jack. "You're heading to the bunker? Tell them we were here, if there's any hope." Among them was a young student, barely 20, who had lost her family in the initial impact. "Why are we still fighting?" she asked. "Because we're all that's left," Jack replied. Scientists had once predicted that a planet-wide impact could trigger a nuclear winter, but this was worse. The ash and debris not only blocked sunlight, but also created a greenhouse effect, trapping some heat, but not enough to sustain life. Surface temperatures fluctuated wildly, from -70 ring operator C in shaded areas to -30 ring operator C, where weak, filtered sunlight managed to penetrate. The ground was a mix of frozen tundra and patches of molten rock from volcanic activity. The ozone layer, severely damaged, offered no protection. Radiation levels rose, making any outdoor exposure extremely dangerous. Survivors who venture out face painful deaths, their skin burning, their lungs failing. In the oceans, the ice layer thickened. Any marine life that had survived the initial impact now faced a frozen tomb. The lack of photosynthesis meant no oxygen production, and what little oxygen remained was slowly being consumed by fires and decay. The few remaining animals on land, rats, cockroaches, scavenged for food, but even they were dying off. Jack, walking to the ruins, saw a bird, its feathers frosted, lying dead on the ash-covered ground. "Even nature can't survive," he said, sighing. Elena's group attempted to dig a ventilation shaft. "Maybe we can get fresh air, somehow," a survivor said. But every meter they dug, ash poured in. "It's no use," another said, coughing. Meanwhile, a young girl, one of the few children left, fell ill. "Please, help her," her mother begged. Elena checked her. Fever, cough, likely radiation poisoning. There was no cure. The mother, overcome with grief, refused to leave her side, even as her own health deteriorated. Jack's journey took him through what was once a bustling city. Now, it was a graveyard of rubble and ash. He found a library, its shelves collapsed, books burned. So much knowledge gone, he murmured. Among the ruins, he found a photograph, a family smiling, unaware of the doom to come. It reminded him of what was lost. Chapter 10. The Final Spark. Months after the impact, Earth was a desolate, frozen wasteland. In Elena's bunker, the last survivors huddled together, their breaths shallow in the frigid air. The young girl had passed away, her mother not far behind, succumbing to grief and radiation-induced illness. "We're the last ones," the survivor said. Elena, weak but resolute, looked at the remaining few, maybe a dozen. "We hold on for each other." But their bodies were failing, malnourished, poisoned by radon and radiation. Elena recalled the early days, the hope of evacuation, the first tremors. "Who would have thought it'd end like this?" she murmured. A survivor, an old man with a weathered face, replied, "We fought as long as we could." His voice was hoarse, strained by the toxic air. Another survivor, a young woman, tried to start a fire with the last of their fuel. "At least we'll be warm for a bit," she said, but the flames sputtered out. There was no oxygen left to sustain it. Jack, still en route to the bunker, faced a new horror, a massive ash storm. Winds howled at 200 kilometers per hour, ash cutting like glass. He took shelter in a collapsed subway tunnel. "If this doesn't pass, I'll never make it," he muttered. His portable drive, now his sole purpose, was safe. But what good was data if there was no one left to use it? He thought of all the lives lost, the project abandoned, the dream shattered. "This drive is all that's left of our knowledge," he said to himself, clutching it tightly. The global temperature had dropped another 10 degrees Celsius, now averaging -70 ring operator C. The few remaining fires on Earth from volcanic activity were dying out. Oxygen levels were critically low, below 10% of pre-impact levels. Survival was now a battle against every element. Jack's breath was labored, each inhale painful. He checked his makeshift gas mask, cracked, barely functional. "Just a little longer," he urged himself. In the bunker, a survivor found a radio, tuned to static. Suddenly, a faint signal. "This is Jack, if anyone can hear me." Elena grabbed the radio. "Jack, we're here, barely." Their voices, weak but urgent, connected for the first time in weeks. "I'm a day away. Hold on," Jack said. But the storm raged, and time was against him. Elena shared the news with the others. "He's coming," she said, but hope was a fragile thing now. As the ash storm subsided, Jack continued. He found a vehicle, an old, battered truck with little fuel. "Please start," he begged. The engine sputtered to life. He drove, dodging debris and fissures. The bunker's coordinates were in his mind. He had to make it. Along the way, he passed what was left of the city, its skyscrapers now mere stumps buried in ash. A sign creaked in the wind, barely legible. Los Angeles. "Gone," he whispered. In the bunker, Elena's group prepared for the end. "If Jack doesn't come, we'll at least die knowing we tried," she said. But then a sound, distant but familiar. "Is that a vehicle?" a survivor asked. They rushed to the entrance. There, covered in ash, was Jack. "You made it," Elena said, tears freezing on her cheeks. They embraced, a moment of connection in a world gone cold. But even with Jack's arrival, the situation was hopeless. The bunker's air was unbreathable, supplies non-existent. Jack shared the data, their legacy. Maybe one day, someone will find this, learn from our mistakes. Elena nodded. Our struggles, our failures, Let it be a lesson. The group gathered around, listening to Jack explain the data's significance. It was a final act of sharing, of unity. Chapter 11. The Gasping Planet. Months turned into a haze of suffering. In the underground bunker, the air was a toxic stew, radon, ash, and oxygen levels now below 8%. Every breath was a labor, each inhale sharp with pain. The bunker reeked of dampness and decay, mold thriving in the corners. Every surface was slick with condensation, mixing with ash to form a gritty paste. The survivors, wrapped in tattered blankets, shivered not just from the cold but from the ever-present fear of what lurked in the shadows of the crumbling structure. Elena led a small group in a final search for supplies. They pried open rusted lockers, finding only dust and a few expired medications. "It's over," one survivor said, tossing the useless packet aside. Elena, refusing to accept defeat, checked every nook. "There has to be something," she insisted, but her voice lacked conviction. Her eyes fell on a collapsed shelf. Perhaps there was something underneath. With Jack's help, they pushed the heavy metal aside. Nothing but more ash and a few broken tools. "Damn it," Jack muttered. Outside, the Earth's surface told a tale of utter devastation. The impact had shifted continents, creating new, jagged mountain ranges overnight. Volcanic activity, once a roar, now sputtered weakly, most vents choked by ash. The few remaining eruptions released noxious gases that mixed with the frozen atmosphere, creating layers of smog that trapped what little heat remained. Surface temperatures averaged -80 ring operator C, but sudden gusts from dying geothermal activity could spike it to -30 ring operator C momentarily, only to plunge back again. Above ground, ash dunes shifted like ghostly waves in the faint, toxic wind. These dunes, hundreds of meters high, buried cities deeper with each passing day. The few active volcanoes left belched out sulfur-laden gas, which froze mid-air, creating strange, crystalline formations that glittered in eternal darkness. The ground itself was a patchwork of frozen tundra and patches of molten rock, where geothermal activity still fought a losing battle against the cold. Jack, huddled near a collapsed shelf, checked the weather thermometer. "No change," he said. His portable drive, their last link to humanity's knowledge, sat useless, its battery long dead. "At least it's safe," he murmured, more to himself. The bunker itself was crumbling. Cracks in the ceiling rained dust and small rocks. Another quake could bring it down, a survivor noted, but no one reacted. Death was no longer a fear, but a release. The lack of sunlight had long since killed any hope of photosynthesis. The few plants that had clung to life in the bunker's hydroponic farm were now blackened, frozen. Insects, once pests, were gone, their tiny bodies littering the floor. "Even they couldn't survive," Elena said, staring at a dead cockroach. Oceans, now solid ice sheets, creaked under the strain of Earth's shifting crust. The ice was a mix of frozen water, ash, and volcanic debris, opaque and gray. No fish, no whales, just a silent, icy graveyard. The lack of oxygen was felt acutely. Even the hardiest microorganisms had perished. In the bunker, a survivor tried to light a fire with the last of their fuel. The flame sputtered, no oxygen. "Useless," they said, tossing the lighter. Elena's team had long since stopped keeping track of days. "Is it day or night?" someone asked. Outside, there was no difference, perpetual darkness. Jack thought of the data drive, now a paperweight. "All that knowledge for nothing," he said. But Elena disagreed. "It wasn't for nothing. We knew. We understood. Even if no one ever finds it, we knew." Her words were weak, but firm. Jack, watching survivors, felt a deep sense of loss. Not just for the world they'd lost, but for the simple things: sunlight, a warm meal, a loved one smile. He sat with Elena, their hands clasped, "We're the last of it all," he said. Elena nodded. "But we're still here, still human." Their conversation was cut short by a violent aftershock, causing more debris to fall. "Hold on," Jack shouted, shielding Elena. When the dust settled, another survivor was gone, crushed under a fallen beam. Chapter 12. The Fading Light of Humanity. The air in the bunker grew progressively thinner, oxygen levels now below 6%. Each breath was a shallow, desperate gasp. The bunker, once a shelter, now echoed with the labored breathing of its inhabitants. The cold was relentless, seeping into every bone, making even the slightest movement a Herculean task. Dr. Elena Marquez lay on the cold floor, her body too weak to move. "It's almost over," she whispered. Jack Harper, beside her, held her hand tightly. His own breaths were labored, each inhale a sharp pain in his chest. The bunker's interior was a grim tableau of decay. Mold spread like black veins across the walls, feeding on the dampness and despair. The few remaining supplies, tattered blankets, rusted tools, lay scattered, forgotten. The faint glow of a dying emergency light flickered, casting long shadows that danced eerily on the crumbling walls. Every sound was magnified. The creak of shifting concrete, the occasional call from a survivor, the distant rumble of Earth's final tremors. The air was thick with the smell of damp earth and decay, a constant reminder of the tomb they were trapped in. Outside, the Earth's atmosphere continued to deteriorate. The last vestiges of water vapor froze, falling as crystalline dust. The sky, once a canvas of blue, was now a uniform, oppressive gray, layer upon layer of ash and toxic gases. The lack of oxygen meant even the faintest spark of fire was impossible, leaving the planet in complete darkness. The silence outside was deafening, a stark contrast to the chaos that had reigned after the impact. No wind, no volcanic roar, just an endless, hollow quiet. The ice sheets covering the oceans expanded relentlessly, their edges grinding against newly formed land masses with sound like distant thunder. The bunker's structure, already fragile, suffered more damage from constant aftershocks. Cracks widened, allowing in frigid air that carried radioactive particles. A survivor, attempting to seal a fissure, collapsed mid-action. No one had the strength to help. They could only watch his life ebb from their companion. His body lay still, a silent reminder of the inevitable fate that awaited them all. Jack's mind wandered to memories of the past. Sunny days, laughter, the warmth of human connection. "Remember the beach?" he said to Elena. She smiled faintly, lost in the same reverie. "So much beauty wasted," she replied. Their conversation was a mere whisper, energy too scarce for more. Memories of family, friends, and simple pleasures played like a silent movie in their minds, each memory a precious, fading gem. On Earth's surface, the last active volcanoes finally fell silent. The molten rock cooled, turning to blackened stone. The ice sheets covering the oceans thickened, crushing any remaining geological activity beneath. The planet's core, once a source of heat and life, now cooled rapidly, causing the crust to shift and settle with gentle, final tremors. The once dynamic Earth was now a static, frozen sculpture of destruction. In the bunker, the survivor's weak voice broke the silence. "Why do we fight so hard?" No one answered. The question hung in the air, unanswered and unanswerable. Elena knew the answer. Instinct, the will to live, the hope for a miracle. But now, even hope was gone. Each survivor was lost in their own thoughts, reflecting on a life now reduced to mere existence. Jack's portable drive, a symbol of their lost legacy, was now irrelevant. It lay forgotten in a corner, overshadowed by the inevitable end. "It doesn't matter anymore," Jack said. Elena nodded. What mattered was us being here together. Their bond, forged in the crucible of disaster, was the last remaining thread of humanity. Chapter 13. The inevitable end draw. Oxygen levels in the bunker plummeted below 5%. Each breath a desperate struggle. The air was thick with a noxious blend of radon, mold, and decay, assaulting the survivors' lungs with every inhale. Dr. Elena Marquez lay motionless on the cold, damp floor, her vision fading to black. Jack Harper, barely conscious, clung to her hand, their skin cold and clammy. "It's peaceful," Elena murmured, her voice barely audible. The bunker, once a refuge, now grown under the weight of Earth's final tremors. Cracks expanded rapidly, raining down a steady stream of dust and debris onto survivors, but no one flinched. They lacked the strength to react. The bunker's interior was a desolate scene of decay. Flickering emergency lights cast an eerie glow on the mold-infested walls, their weak illumination barely piercing the surrounding darkness. Tattered blankets and rusted tools, once essential for survival, now lay forgotten amidst the rubble. The faint, labored breathing of the survivors was the only sound, interspersed with the occasional creak of shifting concrete. A survivor, curled up in a corner, let out a final, ragged breath, slipping away unnoticed by the others, who were lost in their own battles for life. Outside, Earth's atmosphere had all but vanished, stripped away by the impact's aftermath. The planet's surface was a barren, frozen expanse. No wind, no sound, just endless silence. The core, now almost cold, no longer generated tectonic activity. The last ice sheet settled with final, ominous creak, locking away any trace of the ocean's former glory. The few remaining rocks and mountains stood as silent sentinels of a dead world, their peaks buried under meters of ash and ice. The once blue planet was now a gray, lifeless sphere, its transformation from a cradle of life to a frozen tomb complete. Jack's mind wandered to the data drive, now buried under a pile of rubble. No legacy, no future, he thought bitterly. But Elena's faint squeeze of his hand reminded him of their shared humanity. "We were here," she said, her final words. Those words echoed in Jack's mind, a poignant reminder of the lives they lived and the battles they fought. Despite the hopelessness, there was a strange sense of peace in accepting the inevitable. Another survivor, a young woman who had joined them later, let out a soft moan. Her eyes were closed, and her body trembled slightly. Jack wanted to comfort her, but he couldn't move. His muscles had wasted away, and every attempt to shift his position was met with excruciating pain. The cold seemed to seep into his very bones, numbing him from the inside out. The bunker's walls shifted violently once more, sending a large chunk of concrete crashing down near a survivor. The impact didn't even elicit a reaction. The survivor was already gone, their body now partially buried. Jack looked at Elena, her face pale and drawn. He thought of all the moments they'd shared, the fear, the hope, the desperation. Now, it was all coming to an end. Outside, the last vestiges of any natural light were long gone. The eternal darkness was complete, interrupted only by the occasional flicker of distant, dying geothermal activity. But even those lights were fading, soon to be extinguished forever. The Earth, once a vibrant stage for life, was now a silent, cold monument to extinction. As the minutes ticked by, Jack felt his consciousness slipping. Elena's hand in his grew colder, her grip weaker. He tried to hold on, but it was no use. The world around him grew darker, and his thoughts became jumbled. In his final moments, he saw flashes of the past. A sunny day, a laugh, a moment of connection. And then nothing. The bunker, now silent and still, held the remains of humanity. Every survivor had succumbed to the relentless cold and the lack of oxygen. Their bodies lay motionless, a final testament to the struggle for survival. Earth, a once living planet, was now a dead rock in space. The final chapter was upon it, and there would be no more struggles, no more hopes, just the endless, cold silence of a world that had forgotten what it was to live. Chapter 14. Eternal Silence. The final moments in the bunker were marked by a silence more profound than any before. Dr. Elena Marquez and Jack Harper, along with the other survivors, now lay motionless. Their bodies, once filled with the spark of life, now merged with the cold, unforgiving concrete. The bunker, once a shelter, was now a tomb, sealed forever as the last cracks in its walls filled with a mixture of ash and ice. Jack's data drive, buried deep within the rubble, would never be found. Its contents, a repository of human knowledge and history, were lost to time, like a single drop in an endless ocean of forgetfulness. Outside, Earth's transformation into a dead planet was complete. The atmosphere, once protective blanket, had dwindled to a thin layer of toxic gases and ash. It offered no protection from the harsh cosmic rays that now bombarded the surface. The surface itself was a frozen expanse of gray ice and jagged rock, a mosaic of destruction. No rivers flowed, no winds blew, only a silence so profound it seemed to echo through the cosmos. The once familiar blue and green hues were replaced by a monochrome palette of gray and white, a grim testament to the planet's demise. The few remaining satellites, their orbits decaying rapidly, eventually plummeted to Earth. Like shooting stars in reverse, they crashed into the ice with no one to witness their final descent. The impact created massive craters, but even those were quickly filled with drifting ash. The moon, once a constant companion, continued its silent orbit around a planet that had forgotten it. It hung in the sky, a cold, lifeless rock, reflecting the sun's light onto a world that no longer felt its warmth. The sun, a distant star, shone on, oblivious of the fate of the planet below. Its rays, once life, giving, now bounce off the ice and ash, adding no warmth, no life. Centuries turned into millennia. The ice sheets covering Earth thickened, driven by endless cycles of freezing and pressure. The bunker, once a symbol of human survival, was now a mere geological formation, its concrete walls crushed under kilometers of ice and ash. Any remaining artifacts, tools, remnants of clothing, were ground into dust mixed with the surrounding rock. From space, Earth was a ghost. No lights twinkled at night, no clouds moved across its face. The planet rotated on its axis, a mechanical motion devoid of purpose. If by some chance an alien civilization passed by, they would see a frozen, lifeless sphere. No signs of cities, no signs of technology, just a planet in the grip of eternal winter. The sun continued its journey through the galaxy, oblivious to the fate of Earth. Over time, the slow pull of gravity caused the planet's orbit to shift ever so slightly. The once stable path that had allowed life to flourish for billions of years now led Earth on a long, aimless drift. The tides, which had once been controlled by the moon's gravitational pull, were now stilled. Without the ebb and flow of water, the few remaining coastal ecosystems that had clung to life in the immediate aftermath of the disaster finally succumbed. The very rocks that made up Earth's crust, once shaped and reshaped by volcanic activity and tectonic shifts, now lay dormant. The last vestiges of geothermal heat dissipated, and the planet cooled from the inside out. Mountains that towered over the landscape for millions of years were gradually eroded by the abrasive ash, reduced to mere hills, and then, eventually, to flat plains. As the ages passed, the ice that covered the planet began to change. Subtle variations in temperature, caused by the slow decay of radioactive elements deep within Earth's core, led to the formation of strange, swirling patterns in the ice sheets. These patterns, invisible to any observer, were a final, silent testament to the planet's complex history. Humanity's story, once filled with passion, struggle, and innovation, was now a non-existent footnote. No songs, no books, no idea survived. The collective knowledge, the dreams, the loves, all vanished. The planet that had once been a cradle of intelligence was now a testament to the transient nature of life in the universe. Earth, now a silent, frozen relic, continued its solitary journey through space, a poignant reminder of what had been and what could never be again.